I'm Dave Adamson from GSI Environmental. Today I'm going to provide a quick overview of a research project that we recently wrapped up called Transitioning from Active Remedies to Monitored Natural Attenuation. Quick heads up, this work was funded by SERDP through the Department of Defense, but that doesn't imply any specific endorsements by the DoD or the research or any of the approaches discussed in this video. With that out of the way, what am I going to be talking about? Well, we'll talk about transition assessments, what they are, why they're important, but I'm going to spend the most of the time showing you the key project deliverable, the TA squared or TA2 tool. It's a free software web app that we designed to help perform these types of transition assessments. And then I'll wrap up by describing some of the key benefits of the tool. We've got our project team down there in the bottom right corner. That included myself, my GSI colleagues Chuck Newell and Hiroko Hort, and we're also lucky to have John Wilson from Scissortail Environmental on the team. Now, this concept of transition assessments, it's been with us for a while, but it was really crystallized in this great 2013 National Research Council document that described our challenges in managing contaminated groundwater sites. The NRC said that at many complex sites, contaminant concentrations in the plume remain stalled at levels above cleanup goals despite continued operation of remedial systems. And what this meant was that there's no clear path forward at these sites beyond continuing to operate expensive pump and treat systems or maybe even repeated in situ treatments. They went on to say that if the effectiveness of site remediation reaches a point of diminishing returns, the transition to monitored natural attenuation, MNA, or some other active or passive management should be considered using a formal evaluation. So for a site that's been monitored for a long time and maybe had a treatment system in for that same period of time, you could end up with a concentration versus time record that looks something like this. So you've got a source or maybe an extraction well where active treatment might have helped for a while, but the concentrations at the end might be beginning to plateau. So for that site manager, these type of data can be used as a signal that maybe you need to do a transition assessment. But how do you do that? When the NRC issued their document, they didn't really provide specific guidance, but they did identify three things that are important. They said first, you need to understand the site complexities and the implications for achieving cleanup goals. This could include the persistence of the remaining source area due to a process like matrix diffusion. Second, you need a thorough quantitative assessment of your monitoring data to determine if, for example, concentrations are asymptotic or plateauing, or to understand your attenuation rates and your remediation timeframe. And three, you need to understand if there are viable alternatives for managing the site. In other words, a suitable transition technology like MNA. And that's what our project aimed to do, make walking through those steps a little bit easier. And we did this by developing a free web-based app, the TA Squared tool. It stands for Transition Assessment Teaching Assistant, and it provides site managers with different modules that specifically focus on those data and information that help assess if M&A is an alternative at sites where remediation is underway or maybe additional remediations are being considered. All right, so let's take a quick tour of this app. First off, where can I find it? Well, if you're watching this video, you may have already found the project page, which has the link to the tool, but I'll show you another way here. So what we have here is the SERDP ESDCP website, and up there at the top, there's a button for tools and training. Um, you've got a listing then. Ours shows up right there at the top because we just recently issued this. So you click on that and it's going to access this app. Now you're not downloading software or anything like that. You're just doing this through a web page. So it may take a few seconds in order for it to load. So here's the home page for the tool. You'll see it's divided into two sections. At the top, number one, I want to do calculations to answer the question. So you got these different modules, these buttons here. You click on those. They help you look quantitatively at those questions. There's a section below. I'd like to learn more about how to do specific things. You can get more information about those as well as a summary at the very bottom. You also have these menus up here, and the data input is an important one. So you need to have your data that feeds into the tools, concentration data from different monitoring wells at a site, for example. You enter that in maybe in a slightly different way for the different tools, but there's lots of instructions for that along with the coordinates. You also have this option up here where you can upload save data. That's going to give you the option to upload from an Excel file where you might have all your data already arranged nice and neatly. So if it's a file you've been working on for a while, you just upload it directly into the tool. That's probably the easiest way to work with and edit data. All right, so after that, let's take a look at a few of these modules. Again, we're here on this homepage. We'll start off with the first question, a key one. Am I approaching a concentration versus time asymptote at my site? You got the section at the left. Most of these tools have input data on the left. You're going to select different well or wells to look at. It's going to plot the concentration versus time data there on the right. This could be extraction wells in a pump and treat system. So in this case, at this particular well, you sort of see it might change in rate over time. It's going to plot first an attenuation rate for the entire period. It's going to show you what the remediation time frame is as well. But you've got this sort of intermediate point here where there's clearly some difference in the rate. So the tool also gives you the ability to select a breakpoint and then have the rate calculated for the early period as well as the late period. So in this case, you've got the rate before it might have been started to slow down as well as after that, and then the stats associated with back both of those as well. The second period begins to look like it's plateauing. The tool also goes through these lines of evidence. In this case, it's got sort of these four things which suggest that, yeah, maybe you do have asymptotic conditions here. So if they're pumping well, it might be something you need to consider doing a transition assessment. Second tool is a plume stability tool, pretty important. Again, you're looking at monitoring well data. You've got input data in here, so we're looking at TC in these different wells. It's going to put a Mann-Kendall trend analysis for each of these different wells, and that's summarized here on the right. Things whether an increasing, decreasing trend, those sorts of things. It'll also plot the data for you in concentration versus time, so that's what's shown right on here. These are the wells we'd enter data, and then it also will plot them on a map. So it's a nice visual way, color-coded for different types of trends associated with there, a good way to visualize this. Got tool 3 is next, and that's a key question. Specifically, how long will it take to reach cleanup goals after source remediation at my site? So this is one where we've used REM-ChlorMD modeling, fate and transport modeling. We've got this great paper by Borden and Chow where they did all these simulations, and this tool allows you to access those and say what's going to happen at my site once I do that remediation. Looks at all these different input data, one of which is really your geology at your site, so you can understand the potential influences of things like matrix diffusion on plume persistence after source remediation. So you've got all these other inputs. Another thing in here is this uncertainty analysis. So this is a Monte Carlo analysis to help you understand the level of uncertainty there are in the results. Let's go back here to this first screen. We'll select Run. It's got all your site-specific information, and it's going to give you, for this particular one, how long it takes to achieve these order of magnitude reductions in concentrations. You can see they extend pretty far out into the future. The plot reinforces that as well. It's going to say how long is it going to take this to get to this cleanup goal, that horizontal line. There's also an uncertainty envelope in that blue. Those are from the Monte Carlo results. But again, it really does take, in this case, a really long time because of the matrix diffusion that's associated with the low K geology at this site. Okay, we can't look at everything in this app, but I do want to show tool 5, and this is one that is asking, can I meet my cleanup goal at a down gradient point of compliance after transitioning from active treatment? So we're looking at concentration versus distance data in this case. And that's a key thing for at sites that are managed with these sort of risk-based down gradient compliance goals. In this case, you can sort of estimate what your attenuation rates in different ways, but one way is to look at the pre-remediation data. So this is the natural attenuation rate in the plume, concentration versus distance, before any remediation systems are present, then calculating the rate associated with natural attenuation. It's going to get that information, it's going to plot it, then it's going to use, that's the red data, and then it's going to use it on the blue data to project currently whether you're going to meet that concentration goal. And in this case, it does predict that you would do that with that natural attenuation rate. There's other ways of doing this. A second way is to use lab-based attenuation rates. So this might be from a microcosm or a treatability test or something like that. And again, it's going to use that rate and project on your current data whether it expects you to meet that concentration goal at the down gradient point of compliance. So that's tool 5, a pretty important one for MNA transition as a transition technology. That ends the quick tour, so let's go to the benefits here. Uh, First, it's really providing a framework for managers to evaluate sites that have active treatment or where active source zone remediation is being contemplated, but where there's some general concern about whether it's going to actually be a success. This tool also ensures that you're gathering all the key information. It's got checklists and a summary for doing technically rigorous site-specific transition assessment. And it also complements other existing resources that are out there that talk about ways to do transition assessments. All right, well, we went through that pretty quick, so I'd encourage you to click on the link to the tool and play around with it yourself to see how it works. There's a lot more information on the project page. We've got longer webinars and short courses on this tool as well. And of course, you can feel free to reach out to me or my colleagues if you need help or want to chat about the tool. Thanks.